That's it, Dr. Manaf. Let's dive straight in. Thank you very much for that wonderful keynote earlier, where you highlighted a number of the areas of responsiveness that the government and ASEAN as a whole have taken. And Brunei's done a great job and has received many words of congratulations from ASEAN member states and ASEAN dialogue partners. Could you highlight some of the key outcomes from the recent ASEAN summits that will help our region recover stronger? Perhaps touch a little bit on the ACRF, the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework. And love to hear a little bit more on the Bandar Seri Begawan digital roadmap as well, if you please, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan. I think I've said this earlier during my speech, but nevertheless, let me highlight again the outcomes. In 2021, Brunei Darussalam has the privilege of leading the region's post-pandemic COVID-19 recovery efforts. To that end, the 37th and 38th ASEAN Summit highlighted the importance of ASEAN's neutrality in our post-pandemic recovery efforts by, among others, strengthening the multilateral trading system and economic cooperations. In particular, the importance of working together, including in ensuring equitable and affordable vaccine access for all countries in the region. Under the ASEAN Economic Community pillars, Brunei Darussalam identified and achieved most of the 13 priority economic deliverables for 2021, which is divided across 3 strategic thrusts of recovery, digitalization, and sustainability. Under the recovery trust, ASEAN member countries have agreed and adopted 4 priorities, including 1, non-tariff measures toolkit; 2nd, ASEAN investment facilitation framework; 3rd, launching of the negotiation for the ASEAN-Canada Free Trade Agreement; and 4thly, post-COVID-19 recovery plan for ASEAN tourism. ASEAN is also targeting to sign this year's NADA Brunei Priority Economic Deliverables 2021, that is the 9th ASEAN Framework Agreement on Services Protocol on Financial Services. Aside from that, ASEAN leaders have also welcomed the entry into force of the RCEP agreement, signaling the region's intent to uphold the open, free and rule-based multilateral trading system, which we hope can further boost trade and investment. Ultimately, all these initiatives which I have highlighted are in line with the ASEAN Comprehensive Economic Recovery, which was adopted by the leaders at last year's ASEAN Summit, which outlined ASEAN recovery strategies post-COVID-19 through 5 broad strategies so that our region can recover stronger and build back better. The paradigm shift towards digitalization has no doubt been accelerated by the pandemic, and the summit emphasized the importance of ASEAN to leverage on digitalization. In this regard, ASEAN also adopted the Bandar Seri Begawan roadmap for digital transformation, which is an additional Brunei Darussalam priority economic deliverables. It is our hope that we can accelerate digital transformation and align digital policies in the region. For example, BSBR will entail the introduction of digital solution to facilitate travel in the post-COVID-19 norms. And in short, that BSBR will help to facilitate the adoption of digitalization in every aspect of ASEAN. Alan, thank you.
Thank you, Dato. President Joko Widodo of Indonesia spoke at the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit, which Brunei hosted a few weeks ago. Yeah. And in his keynote address at the summit, he highlighted the importance of travel corridors amongst the region. What does the future of business and personal travel look like for 2022? How soon do you think we'll be able to move around as freely as we used to? And will we ever be able to do that?
Thank you, Alan. I think it is without a doubt that one of the hardest hit sector of the pandemic is the travel and tourism sector. Agreed. Yeah. And the ASEAN alone, intra-ASEAN travel account for 40% of travel in the region. And a lot of countries in the regions are very much dependent on tourism as their main economic drivers. Therefore, as countries are preparing themselves for endemic phase, the possibility of resuming travel across borders becoming more and more likely. In terms of how the travel landscape will look like, personally, I expect that travel practice and requirement will differ from one country to another. However, health measures will still be in place, such as the requirement to do a PCR swab test, as well as being fully vaccinated become the necessary travel document to, a necessary compulsory requirement for all the countries. Taking a recent example from our fellow ASEAN partners like Cambodia. Cambodia has officially announced they will no longer require for travelers to undergo quarantine, as long as travelers have completed their vaccination and have a negative COVID-19 test 72 hours prior to travel. The same goes to Malaysia, who has also lifted their international travel restriction. Against this backdrop of long-standing and strict measures being put in place since 2020, confidence in travel will have to be restored. Therefore, the introduction of the ASEAN Travel Corridor, the post-COVID-19 recovery plan for tourism, which is already adopted by the ASEAN leaders, as well as the introduction of travel facilitative measures such as vaccine travel lane at ports, will certainly help us in doing so, especially in facilitating economic recovery of the region, as well as ensuring that the revival of tourism industry is done in a safe and efficient manner. I think, in short, Alan, I think I'm quite confident that it will be, the traveling will be more open in the next few months. Thank you.
Dato', I'm sure many of us are looking forward to take that well-deserved holiday and take the family away. And I think for personal travel, you can't replicate that. Although Facebook is certainly trying with their metaverse.
Yeah.
But with regards to business and even for government, your meetings, the ASEAN meeting calendar is hectic, and there's APEC as well. Do you see that there will be a return to the frequency of meetings that you had in person before, or do you think there'll be some kind of a hybrid format for business and government meetings of the future? Is this a new paradigm, this new normal we'll be seeing?
I think based on our experience, a lot of, I think having a virtual meeting is more efficient, but there's some drawback to it, especially contact, personal contact, having physical meeting. There is more, personal and more intimate in terms of, in terms of getting agreement are much more relatively easier. I think I was told that for the country host Cambodia next year, I think they will basically focus on personal, travel, physical meeting in Cambodia for the next ASEAN meetings next year. So I think, but nevertheless, I think for us, I think there should be a blend between both physical meeting and also virtual meeting, because this is important for us to ensure that we do not waste time traveling just for attend one single meeting. So I think it should be a blend of the two. But nevertheless, the Cambodian host has indicated that majority of the meetings for ASEAN next year will be held personally and physically.
I suppose virtual meetings do help with regards to sustainability and limit our travel footprint. But we'll come to that a little bit later.
Yes, definitely. But at the same time, it also saves money. For example, having to attend, travel for 3 hours just to attend for another 2 hours meeting, I think it makes sense for us to have it virtually instead of physical.
Absolutely. And I think it's changed the opportunity for us to meet more frequently with people from different geographies. And I think that's something that has been a fantastic opportunity, which we didn't expect before. Although technology was there. The technology for meeting has been around through Skype and other things. But the concept of meeting virtually wasn't quite as normalized as it is now. But Dato', do you think, this year, I personally thought this year was going to be much better than last year. And I actually thought when the COVID crisis first broke out that it would only be a matter of months before things returned to normal. This was just a bad case of the flu. almost 2 years on, we're still seeing the region and the world struggle with lockdowns, and even the vaccinated countries are having to revisit their policies and close back down. Some countries struggling with vaccination, some countries struggling with persuading their populations to get vaccinated. Will next year be better, Dato? Have we seen the light at the end of the tunnel, or is it still very much cloudy?
I think since the onset of the pandemics here in early 2020, there is no denying that we have made significant progress in our efforts to mitigate the spread of virus to the development of COVID vaccines. I think there are various vaccines that are available in the market. However, as we have seen in other countries, including Brunei, the coronavirus has the ability to evolve into new and easily transmissible variants, which has forced many countries to consistently implement necessary measures and restriction orders in order to mitigate the spread. This has led to several scientists, including WHO official, indicating that COVID is here to stay. With that said, in the current situation we are in, where countries are highly interconnected with each other, the management of virus will be highly varied and dependent on each individual countries. I think, for example, some economies will decide to continue closing their borders and maintain restriction, whilst other economies may have already accepted the fact that we have to live with the pandemic and treat it as an endemic. And in fact, this is akin to what Brunei Darussalam experiencing at the moment as we approach towards opening our borders and economy, involving 3 phases, where phase 1 involved preparation, followed by transition, and finally the endemic phase. Obviously, the rolling out of vaccination is vital in us doing so. And Alhamdulillah, I'm happy to note that as of November 18, 2021, we have so far reached 74.1% of total population who are fully vaccinated. Let's hope that we can reach the 80% target as soon as possible. However, as I mentioned just now, vaccine does not guarantee you are free from COVID. But at least you are, in terms of severity of COVID infection, you are less there is less chances of you getting a severe COVID infection. I think with positive result from our containment measure, and as we approach to the 80% vaccination target, Brunei Darussalam is now at the transition stage, where we are implementing our de-escalation plan, starting on the 19th of November, when we started to ease restriction on curfew and capacity of workplace and gathering. Overall, as we move ahead, we need to closely keep in cognizance all the important key lessons learned from the pandemic, and ensure that we are more than ready to not just the next variant of COVID, but also for any future crisis. So I think the same goes to other countries. So at the moment we are in the new norm. We must always be careful, be aware that anything can happen. So I think we must be ready. So whatever it is, in terms of our preparedness, we must be prepared for any eventualities. Thank you, Alan.
We'll always be ready. That's the wise words. And we did open up yesterday, and it's great to see that businesses are getting back to normal. I was not prepared enough to make an appointment with the barber. So when I did get in touch, he said I've got to wait for almost a week. So I apologize for I'm not quite there yet. But that's all. I'd like to move on to digitalization and invite our audience to put questions to you as well. If you do have questions for our Deputy Minister, please pop them in the chat function, and we'll be able to pick them up and relay them on to Dr. Manaf. So we talked a little bit about digitalization earlier, and one major change that's developed, as you mentioned in the keynote, was the acceleration of digital adoption. And Southeast Asia was already being transformed due to the 4th Industrial Revolution, but the pandemic has really seen us come online in ways never seen before. Facebook and Bain & Co., the consultancy, did a study, and they have assessed that around 70 million people have become digital consumers since the pandemic began. I mean, that's a significant number. That's the size of the population of the United Kingdom. How should our young entrepreneurs who are tuning in take advantage of this digital wave that we are facing? Do they need to be factoring in digital tools in all of their businesses? Can they revert to how things used to be? How important is digitalization for all of their businesses, and what does government do to encourage the business community to embrace this change?
That's a good question, Alan. Thank you very much for that question. I think for young entrepreneurs, to adapt to the changing digital economy at the moment, I think young entrepreneurs need to be forward-thinking and be able to persevere to the digital transformation taking place. It is important for young entrepreneurs to proactively seek out new skill and knowledge. It's not easy, but it is an important factor, and they cannot escape from this. So they have to persevere. Prior to the COVID-19, the government of Brunei Darussalam has various occasions acknowledged the importance of the fourth industrial revolution and the economic opportunities it creates. Therefore, the Economic Digital Master Plan 2025 was launched to outline Brunei's approach towards a digital and future-ready society, vibrant and sustainable economy, as well as conducive digital ecosystem. The master plan, comprised of a 5-year plan, is intended to support the objective Brunei Darussalam Vision 2035. And one of the strategic thrusts in the master plan is industry digitalization, where it will focus on, one, the assessment of capabilities and readiness of the players to adopt IR4 technologies. Second, drive adoption of technology through training on key technology solutions and collaboration with key industry players. Third, undertake a comprehensive study awareness program across all stakeholders with particularly focus on MSMEs. And fourth, showcase IR4 technologies and application through pilot projects. In addition, some of the government initiatives and programs to encourage business to do more online are: one, recently last year, reformation of the telecommunication industry. The government-linked company UNN has been launched to manage all the Brunei's telecommunication infrastructure. This is the aim to improve the quality and the speed of mobile network, at the same time also reduce the cost of adopting it. Second is the introduction of co-matching grant. Up to 220,000 of financing is available for businesses that are looking into starting or expanding into e-commerce or logistics. And third, the establishment of various e-commerce platforms such as eKedai and Community Brunei that will encourage companies, especially the micro MSMEs, to adopt and facilitate their adoption to the online payment or an online platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. You mentioned earlier about the importance of lifelong learning. For young entrepreneurs, starting out, do they still need to be learning new things? I mean, I guess it's about learning the new technologies and using the tools like what Facebook are doing and launching their metaverse, and how we can use all of the digital tools that are available out there to reach their customers. How important is the role of education, and we ensure that the young people have the right skills to match the changing needs of industry?
I think my background is I used to be a lecturer at the University Brunei Darussalam, so I believe in lifelong learning. So I think as part of the adoption of the digital economy, education and lifelong learning plays an important role, especially for the entrepreneurs. Now, business must not only knowledgeable on the ground and also of the market, but also be able to be technologically savvy. This will help them craft competitive business models and allow them to learn from the business community and also landscape quickly. So at the moment, sometimes the business cycle is very short. So they need to respond to it very quickly. So it's important that they adopt technology to shorten their cycle. Excuse me. We encourage young entrepreneurs to take advantage of available programs and initiatives provided by the government and the private sector. I think if you are aware, there is a young entrepreneurship ecosystem under there, provides a diverse range of opportunities and assistance for aspiring and existing business to grow and penetrate global markets. The ecosystem includes capacity building training programs, the provision of physical and digital infrastructure, as well as financial support and market access. Some of the development programs under this young entrepreneurship ecosystem includes franchise matching facilitation offered by there, which offers opportunities for young Bruneian entrepreneurs to venture into franchise business. AYE Usahawan by Minister of Energy that offer training for interested young entrepreneurs to start and run their own business and will later be invited to a competitive tender exercise for selected tech contract. Those successful will be awarded a 3-year contract with potential extension. And there is also Industry Business Academy online with partnership with Coursera, an online learning platform that provide business capacity building classes by accredited experts around the globe. With ASEAN, also we do have Go Digital ASEAN initiative under ASEAN Coordinating Committee on MSMEs. This is designed to equip 40,000 people, which is 60% women and 40% youth, and MSMEs across ASEAN. They are supposed to be training young and business owners to gain skill to open up markets for their products. And also there is also an initiative under APEC, Digital Business Transformation and Adoption Initiative under APEC SME Working Group. It is a series of e-commerce adoption program. The objective is to increase awareness on emerging technologies, Industrial Revolution 4.0, and to promote e-commerce development and to encourage business and to utilize digital solutions to increase efficiency and productivity and market outreach. We have also ideation together with LiveWire. This is an exercise to validate or refine business ideas at any stage of the business. And finally, we have Accelerate Pitch Day, where we are holding Accelerate Pitch Day, where startups are able to pitch to investors and network with potential partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tato. So there is a huge amount of support that governments provide to young entrepreneurs, and would certainly encourage our young entrepreneurs who are listening to make full advantage of that. Tato, we've got about 3 minutes left. Just a very quick question on sustainability. COP26 has just finished. Sustainability was one of Brunei's 3 strategic thrusts as chair of ASEAN. And much of the debate at COP centered around balancing economic growth and sustainability. And for SMEs and young entrepreneurs who have limited resources, how can smaller companies balance that kind of growth with the need to be sustainable at the same time?
I think Brunei Darussalam is committed to achieve a right balance between economic development and environmental growth. I think advocating environmental friendly and sustainable practice in business while investing in green technology will ensure such a balance whereby economic growth can be achieved without compromise on environment. I think, in fact, visionary business leaders are taking a proactive stand in incorporating environmental sustainability into their business model. I think now, as you know, 70% of the world top 500 companies are engaging external auditors to assess the environmental impact of the operation. Business can balance their own growth and environmental priorities to adopting innovative environmental friendly and more resource efficient technologies. Some of the technologies can be expensive, however, in the long run, it can increase the competitiveness of the company. In a world where consumers are becoming more environmentally conscious and unwilling to buy from those who treat the environment as a dumping ground and have no concern for tomorrow. I think as evidence from the recent COP26, the majority of government worldwide has pledged to reduce greenhouse emission. Some countries has put in place drastic measures such as introducing environmental tax and reducing the usage of fossil fuel by introducing alternative renewable energy. Thus, company will have to comply sooner or later. I think for Brunei, the government will continue to promote a culture that encourages preservation of environment and ecosystem in the country, in the economic activities. Part of this includes encouraging companies and inviting them to participate in environmental awareness and preservation activities such as company CSR, tree planting activities and beach cleaning campaign. The government is also encouraging companies to adopt clean, energy-efficient technologies such as usage of like LED lighting, solar panel. Furthermore, the government will continue to promote investment in environmental and green-friendly industries and limit land and environmental degradation in any economic development activities. Prior to any project being undertaken, either in the public and private sector, an environmental impact assessment will need to be done as part of the requirement, and if necessary, mitigation measures to protect environment must be prepared. I think this is important for all of us now, for not only the government, but also private sector and society to be involved in our preservation of the environment. Not only now, the current, the focus is now to have both profitability and sustainability as the key agenda for business development and economic development. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you very much, Dato. Dato, before I let you go, one final question. You know, one thing that we do enjoy in watching in live is football, and that I think is very hard to change from the virtual world. I'm not quite sure what virtual football will ever look like. I certainly enjoy it on the TV, but the feeling of being there live in the flesh will never, in my view, change. And I think this is part of the challenge, the digitalization in some aspects. As you mentioned, the face-to-face meetings will never be able to be replaced by technology. But Dato, you're a big football fan. Your prediction for the Premier League winner for this year, please.
It's very difficult. It's between Manchester City and probably Liverpool. Although I'm a Manchester United fan, but admittedly at the moment Manchester United is not able to. I don't think they are that level yet. So I think it will be Manchester City, or probably Liverpool will be the one who is going to be winning the Premiership trophy this year.
Thank you very much, Dato. And on that note, we've had a wonderful conversation on thriving in the new paradigm. We hope that Manchester United will thrive in this new paradigm that we find ourselves. And of course, all of our young entrepreneurs out there as well. As our Honourable Deputy Minister has said, always be prepared, always try your best. And with that, I'll hand you back to Asma. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Thank you, Dato.